Hello, welcome to the Breaking Free podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Francis. Today, very grateful, very humble to be joined by Melissa Kupsch. It's been 2.5 years, Mel. We've both come a long way since our last conversation. That conversation was all about Mel's story. If you want to hear more about Mel's story, that is in the show notes below. Mel, welcome back. 2.5 years. I can't believe how quick that's gone, because I remember last time you were out the back in your veranda, as I just said to you before. Now you're
in a tiny house, still out the back of my main house. Yes.
Yep. And you're now a founder of the RMDY Collective, and you've got so many awesome projects and things going on. But first, we'll circle back. Tell us what homeopathy is for any of my new listeners, and then we can go into all the awesome things that you're doing, which is awesome, which is why I got you back on today. So, Mel, let's get into it.
So I am a homeopath. So what homeopathy is, it's a vibrational system of medicine that we use to stimulate the body's own innate wisdom. So every human being has this energetic force that animates the body. And it's a very intelligent force. You guys think from the moment you are born, even before that, you were knit together sort of by this energetic system that knew how to put you together, your spirit, your soul, your everything. And so people really need to look at the human being as not only the physical body, but it is the mental and emotional, the spiritual, the physical, everything put together. And so as homeopaths, what we can do is trigger that energy in your body. And when we do that, we can see all sorts of weird and wonderful things happen. So whether that is like emotional purging, where people let go of their limiting beliefs, maybe some people, they'll just say to me, I have lived my whole life feeling like guilty for no reason. I can't think. I have this feeling that I've done something wrong my whole life and it plagues me. Or people who maybe they had a rocky upbringing and they just feel like they're walking on eggshells and they are anxious and they can't trust life and they're constantly living in fear. These sorts of things with homeopathy, what we do is we harness a substance from nature, we take it into the pharmacy and we make it into a medicine that we then feed back to your body, and we stimulate all of these changes. So you can do that on the mental and emotional sphere. People can let go of traumas and griefs, and we should totally get into some stories about that, Nath, because I've had some amazing, just testimonies recently. But then also the physical things, a lot of us are doing all the right things with our diet, our lifestyle. Maybe we're being good with our sunlight exposure, and we feel like, why do I still have asthma then? Why is my body not self-healing?
Yeah.
This last little thing. And the truth is that every human, you are really quite susceptible to what came down your family lines. And it can just be an energetic distortion, but often people are doing all the right lifestyle things, but you need energy to come in and just budge your body back into alignment. And then it will stay in alignment. But sometimes it takes a rewiring of the energy for your body to remember, oh, that's how my lungs are meant to function. They're not meant to be inflamed anymore. So that's how we use homeopathy for a lot of physical things. I specialized in fertility for quite a while. So a lot of hormonal balancing with the remedies. And this is it. You can use an energetic vibrational substance of the estrogen. So you take estrogen into the homeopathic pharmacy, you make that into a remedy, you feed it back to the body, and women's cycles change immediately. So it's very powerful physically, not just the mental and emotional. And the history of homeopathy is really rich. If you look around the world, we used to have homeopathic hospitals, over 100 of them across the US, thousands of homeopathic pharmacies around the world. And it wasn't really until our medical systems started to compete with each other that one financially got shut down, got suppressed. It's like, you just move over there. You got to stop curing people. You go sit over there while we just sort of use more the pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals, they can save people's lives in an emergency, but they're not very good at addressing those chronic underlying issues. If people have anxiety, oftentimes the drugs aren't really curing it. They're just numbing things out a little bit. But with homeopathy, we want to get to the root of the issue, and it's almost always a trauma or an energetic root.
Literally. And I've heard you speak about this before too. and I've obviously in the last 2.5 years have seen you and it's brought up stuff with me as well. Like I remember the first drops you gave me, it was almost instant shift. It was like this, yeah, purging. It was pretty wild. So just from my experience with homeopathy, it's really also changed my life, but it's also changed many others as well. And you touched on fertility too, and that was something that we didn't quite touch on in our last conversation, Mel. A lot of young people now that are my age are starting the family, going down all these different pathways to try and have the baby. But the mainstream system offers the IVF and all those things. What would be your advice and some tips on the homeopathy side of things when it comes to fertility?
Mm. So there are specific things that you might need to address, and it's going to be individualized. This is the thing about homeopathy. We're never just going to look at someone and say, take this because it's good for fertility. We always look at you. Why are you struggling with fertility? Have you been on the oral contraceptive pill? Is your body jam-packed full of toxins that we need to clear out? Do you have a susceptibility, coming down your family lines to things like PCOS or endometriosis? For the men, we want to look at their testosterone, their sperm, and see why for them. And then we prescribe to that. And when you do, you'll see sperm counts soar. But it's that vitality. And the men will often feel, it's so interesting energy. If men are not living in their purpose, their mission, their vision, if they don't feel good day to day, if they're going to a soul destroying job that they hate and they wake up and they're like, oh, life, and they're not excited, their sperm and their testosterone can tank. And so as a homeopath, it's always important to look at their whole life. Are they fulfilled? Are they able to speak up? Are they in a relationship at home where their wife is really dominating and nagging and he feels emasculinated, and he can't. So those things, when you address the energy, then you see the hormones follow suit. So yeah, really individual. I saw this thing once, and I think it was a reel talking about a study, and they said for men outside chopping wood, if you measure their testosterone before and after, there's some fourfold increase in their hormones, because chopping wood, it's such a manly embodiment of what men do. And so how they feel about what they are doing releases all sorts of biochemistry. And I don't know how legit the study was, but it wouldn't surprise me, is my take home, because I see it all the time, that men who are living in a way where they feel manly, their hormones respond.
Yeah. And I can attest to that too in my last few years as well, going on that journey as well. Yeah. It's an interesting space though, the fertility space, because people my age that are trying will always go the IVF treatment. They aren't necessarily educated or shown that there are alternative options such as homeopathy. And yeah, it's an interesting sort of space that we're delving into. And especially when you were touching on the homeopathy hospitals too, there's a name that always springs to mind when you go down these holes, is the Rockefeller. They funded the other system and kicked the homeopathies out, didn't they? Was that the whole story too?
Yeah, so J.D. Rockefeller is essentially considered the father of modern medicine, that allopathic style of Western, medical drugs. But what's funny about Rockefeller is that he himself loved homeopathy. So he had 3 private homeopaths that looked after his family and people around him. And so he lives on into his 90s. So meanwhile, he's loving it and enjoying homeopathy. He purposely donates a lot of money to the hospitals under, and even the medical establishments where they taught medicine. And they said, you cannot teach homeopathy anymore if you want my money. So it really was a competitive factor, all sorts of standard corruption and the like. But we're really seeing a massive resurgence right now, because people are realizing that antibiotics, they have downfalls, they have pitfalls. For all of the goodness that we could talk about modern medicine, certain practices saving lives, you've also got some really dangerous risks and pitfalls, and long-term use. It's becoming obvious what we're doing to the human body is not desirable. Our chronic disease rates are through the roof. You see that with kids, you see that with fertility. And like you said, it's just a shame people don't know they've got other options. That's what bugs me.
Which is why I started this platform, which is why I get guests on like you to show these people that there are other options out there. especially with our schooling systems as well. It's exactly the same thing. So Mel, tell me about the cool stuff that you've been doing in the last 2.5 years. The
Yeah.
RMDY Collective, your homeopathy program, which a few of my friends are doing. There's so many awesome things, and so many awesome things that you're going to be doing in the future as well. Let's touch on the good stuff. What have you been up to? Where's this vision? What is the vision? Where do you see this going?
So one thing that I had to get done pretty quickly was setting up an institution to really train up more homeopaths, because we are in such demand that we just can't look after like our community. So we just need more of us. And so we started a 2-year academy. I've got some world like leading homeopaths who are amazing in their field, and they teach in this curriculum. So there's now 5 of us. And we have, in our first round ever released, we had 570 students sign up to that. Yeah, sign up to that 2-year program. And it's just going amazing. It's like online, it's flexible. It's honestly like a dream for me to even roll it out, because I love the teaching. I love talking about it. I love continued learning. So that has been amazing. And yes, a couple of your friends I know are in it. And so to see also their communities forming. So we've got people all over the world, like Americans, Australians, and in their states, they're starting to get together and build these friendships and say to each other, all right, let's build a healing center together. Let's get 30 of us in here. We can all work and contribute, support each other, and serve our community. And that is just the ultimate, because my motivation for a lot of the business things that I do is that I look around the world and I can see that we really are under threat. Whatever threat you want to look at, there are genuinely things in our peripheral that if we don't address and sidestep, it could be disastrous. So looking at the food chain, our dependence on the current food system, it's dangerous that we don't know how to farm. It's dangerous that we don't know how to heal ourselves. It's dangerous, this technocratic surveillance state where these leaders of tech companies genuinely want to sync our brains up, our energetic field with a cloud. And that would sound like sci-fi to anybody who doesn't look into these agendas. So in order to counteract that, that's where RMDY Collective, we pretty much want to remedy the situation. We want regenerative farms alongside alternative schooling, where we are teaching people how to connect to themselves, how to grow food, how to cook healthy meals. Like, what else is more important? Why are we sending kids off to school to learn about the Nazi history, which frankly, we're not even teaching an accurate representation of history, but we aren't teaching them things that truly matter and benefit their lives? How to look after their body. What is more important than that? So we've got to start to feed that into how we raise people. And the last thing is healing centers, because people are getting so sick, so sad. I feel like so many people around us, they're chained up, in this life. And it's almost like slavery. It's like they wake up, they go to work, they come home, they watch TV, they've got to eat whatever just to get through. Drugs, alcohol, porn, maybe even a gym addiction. Sometimes we have addictions that look like they're positive, but they're all just a way for us to cope and survive. If you can't go a day without going to the gym, and if you skip one gym session, you feel like a lousy piece of depressed crap, there's something wrong with that, because you're using that, in a way just to get through. We want people to be free and to love their life. So that's really where we're heading. So we're sort of doing the buying back some land slowly but surely. So we just got 34 acres up near where you live. So we are going to be neighbors. And yeah, we've got the farm plans going. We've got the school and the kids workshops is completely booked out. And yeah, the healing centers, because we just want to roll this out pretty much in every state, in every suburb would be a dream. Imagine having healers who could genuinely care for the people and their well-being. None of the systems that exist right now are actually looking after the people.
Agreed. And there's a hometown where Dale, a good friend of yours and a good friend of mine, we're both from a town in Victoria called Bendigo that desperately needs something like this. So yeah, love what you're doing. And Yeah, it's really awesome and very exciting that this is out there for people too. And that you're on a
Yes,
lot
it
of
does.
platforms speaking about it too. I'm seeing a lot of your interviews now. It's good.
Nice. And I
Mm.
think a lot of people, they just need to see that it's possible. They need to see
Yeah.
that something can be done. And then they go, yes, hell yes, I want to be in on this. And there's so many people out there who want to work towards the solution. We just need to get that infrastructure going. Like human beings at their core, in my experience, they are good. You know, they are loving, they are compassionate. It's all of these other layers. It's the stress of this life. It's the way people have thought that they have to compete with each other. And none of that is true. We could live this harmonious life and just much more simply, you know, and it's not so much about this over consuming this modern world has gotten into, like even on social media, right? It's just constant consumption. What can I get? What can I take? And the whole world has seen modeled around that.
Mm.
But when we flick that around and we start to go back to what can I contribute? How can I help? This world will be so much more fun. And I think that's one of the biggest things, right? In the last couple of years, you see a lot of people and they're getting burnt out because they're martyrs and they're trying to make change and it's so hard and F the system. But the thing is like we've just got to have fun doing it. And it is fun,
Yeah.
right? Farming is fun. Hanging out with cool people, you know, is fun. All of that. So yeah, keeping the fun in it.
Yes. And that is a big thing too, because a lot of people out there have lost that inner child sort of fun, playful. That's been one of my biggest things over the last few weeks is just having that more fun. You know, I've been posting videos on my social media of talking on banana phones and dancing around the house and stuff. It's like having that like that more fun, you know, because you know, this doesn't matter what part you or the fence doesn't, there's no real side of the fence, whether you're taking care of yourself or whether you're not. We're just, I think a lot of us are taking life too seriously. And I
Mm.
know for me, when I started this journey and turned my back on all those fun things that I used to do, well, they weren't necessarily fun. I struggled to find fun in what I was currently doing. It's only been in the last few months. I'm like, doing a podcast with Mel is fun, you know.
Mm. Mm.
You know, dancing around the kitchen is fun and just having that childlike play. So that's a really good message.
Yeah, yeah. I think when a lot of people get on the health, say even journey, right, or like even awakening, whatever
Yep.
aspect it is that they come onto, and they turn their back on all these old things, it can seem like, oh, it's so serious, like so much stuff is going on in the world, and da
Yeah.
da da. And definitely agree. Like I've seen so many people get so stressed about being so healthy and doing all the right things that like that is contraindicated like for their health, like that actually sets them back, so they're no further along in their journey. You got to find that sweet medium where yeah, you can choose maybe organic food and you know be good and be mindful of like sunlight and da da da, but also like live, like we're here to live. I don't want to preserve my body until I'm like 120 and have lived like the most boring life
Yeah.
imaginable. You've got to live and have fun and yeah, not take it
Mm.
too seriously.
Which is a big theme of my life in the last 3 years too. So Mel, with the RMDY, so with the remedy, I see you've had a couple of launches and stuff, and you've had Alex Zek too at your
Mm.
last gathering, which is interesting. What is that partnership and collaboration look like? I'm asking personally because I actually don't know, and a lot of my listeners will know who Alex Zek is. Is
Mm.
there a collaboration or a partnership there? What's going on with
Mm.
that partnership?
So as we are expanding more across the US, we just wanted to have like a touch point because a lot of Australians, you know, they come to our events and we can gather like 400 of us in one room in a night. And it's so nice to be with your people, like in real life. Like, sure, online learning is great and you have your live aspects in Zooms, but nothing like real hugs, right, with your real
Yeah.
community. And so Alec is more repping the American and trying to, you know, when you consider that in Texas alone, they have a bigger population than in the whole of Australia. It's like for us with Remedy, if we want to sweep global and really sort of world changing stuff, we need our presence in America. And since I'm not leaving this amazing country, Alec and his wife Kylie's in our course and loving it.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
yeah, just a and good friendship there. So yeah, that's the plan there, and just Yeah, I like collaborating with people who are just for freedom
Yeah.
and sovereignty and self-responsibility. We're not going to wait for permission to make changes. I don't think our government is in a position to, a lot of our agencies, our three-letter agencies, a lot of them have sold out, unfortunately. So I'm not willing to sit back and wait for them to instigate any changes. I'm not sure they would ever come. And I've got three young boys, right? Like
Mm.
I'm motivated to change things as quick as possible for their sake, that they can grow up in a safe, healthy world. So,
That's really awesome. Nah, some really awesome things there, Mel. So just is there anything else you would like to share here about what you're doing and maybe some advice for people that are just listening to this now that are on the fertility journey or that are having these chronic health problems? What would be your advice to those people to maybe start that homeopath journey as well
yeah.
and fertility as well? Yeah.
So definitely seeing somebody, there are a lot of practitioners out there who are good with fertility because I trained quite a few of them. So you will find a lot of them. And you want to, yeah, have your case taken and look at, remedies like folliculinum, that's homeopathic estrogen. You can boost so many of your fertility factors. The thing with homeopathy that you can also do is clear out your ancestral baggage. So if
Ooh.
there are certain things that come down your family lines and you can see it, if you can relay all of that to a homeopath, they can help you to clear it. So let's say something that's common for a lot of women is a family history of cancer. And what you will often see in these women is they've never been well since having glandular fever or mononucleosis or Epstein-Barr virus. Their bodies are very susceptible to that viral load, if you will. When I explain, the viral load, what I mean by that is the symptoms associated with it. So they have these like what seems to be infections running in their body. They're very allergic constitutions. They might be prone to asthma, hay fever, allergies, but they also, their immune system is not as strong. And they often have chronic fatigue. The other things that you see in these carcinogenic patients can be that they have OCD. They are perfectionists. They're obsessive about their diet. They have, all of these things going on. So when you relay that to the homeopath, we can find a very specific remedy to mirror up to your body to trigger that healing response. And the things that I have seen under the influence of homeopathy in situations like this, even when I'm treating fertility, I'll give you some examples. And it's that in that carcinosin profile, a lot of women are tolerating the intolerable in their life. So it might be they are tolerating a job that is just awful, right? They're just a doormat and they're being treated like crap. They might be in a relationship with somebody and they're tolerating the intolerable. So their whole body is like imploding because their energy is suffocating. They can't be who they came here to be. They can't express themselves, not at work, at home. You'll see variations between people, but I'm just painting this picture of what I see so often. And oftentimes they grew up in a household where they weren't actually able to be seen. Maybe dad was aggressive, maybe mum was very dominating, narcissistic, manipulative, whatever it was. We all grow up with different, parents, and what we experience is completely different. But the problem for those women is when they can't express themselves or they can't live safely in their body and in their environment, their body goes into quite a physical state. Not only do they do these behaviors like OCD or perfectionism or what have you, internally, certain things start to play up, and that can really affect their fertility journey. So you really need people to take stock of their whole health. I don't just care if you've been diagnosed with polycystic ovaries or endo. Yes, that is important to me. I do care what drugs you've taken and because I might need to address it. But I also really care about your life. I care about your stress. I care about your trauma. What happened to you when you were a child? If something awful happened or you were made to feel a certain way, that does matter because homeopathically, we need to clear that layer. And you get the added benefit of if we can address some of these things before you get pregnant, you then benefit your babies with the energy that you pass on
Mm.
and what they grow up to be. You know, are they prone to anxiety, perfectionism, OCD, or were you able to address that in yourself first? So that's some of those things. But I'll give you some examples, and I'll just keep it purely anonymous, but some amazing things that
Yes, please.
I've seen lately. And it was this gorgeous patient, and she's taking some remedies, and she'd been taking them for 3 weeks, and it had sort of started to brew something under the surface in her. She's like, oh, I can feel things swirling around. And she ended up in week 3 having it almost eventuate into like a panic attack. And she finds herself in the fetal position. And in that moment, when that had happened, she had a flashback to an old relationship many years ago that, you know, had resolved itself. They had separated, but she's in that moment, she said, I had this flashback, and she's like, this is how I reacted to that news of that breakup, because it caught me completely off guard. And I was like, wow. So this is the sort of stuff that the human spirit remembers, and it stores away in your field all of this information about a lot of the times that we've been hurt. Now, it doesn't keep track of every hurt, but there are certain things that will have wounded your spirit. It could be your parents' divorce. I know in my case, it was my parents divorcing, and it's like it broke my little heart, you know, at 3 years old. Now, as an adult, I can't remember that. I'm not consciously aware of it. But when you take a well indicated homeopathic remedy and you feel these tears come up, you know, they just start spilling out. And you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm crying about this. Like, I really did not think that this was an issue. And this is what people say all the time. Wow, like I can't believe my body held on to it. We see people, their dreams change quite profoundly when you're taking homeopathy. In a lot of cases, not always, but the dreamscape is where a lot of people start to work out their internal issues.
Yeah.
So if we go back to an example, you know, I took the remedy Nat Mur once. Now, Nat Mur can have this, you know, fear of rejection. Often they've experienced some sort of grief earlier in life. And they can then grow up and they sort of have this wall around their heart. It's difficult to be vulnerable and intimate, and it's a self-protective mechanism. Most of them don't know that they do it. And I took this remedy, and that night I'm dreaming about an ex-boyfriend that I had not thought about, you know, in years. But my spirit immediately is obviously flooded with memories of that. And for whatever reason, there was something in my spirit that needed to be resolved in response to that. So you see this all the time, all the time. That, you know, and it's really a divine wisdom. And I wish people knew and understood just how intricate their human spirit is. It knows so much. If you can slow down and really tap into it and just sort of even ask yourself, like, my gosh, wake up in the morning, get outside under the morning sunlight and watch that sunrise, and actually check in with yourself and think, what am I stressed about? What's unresolved? What are the ways that I feel about myself? I'll often ask my patients, I don't want to know what you look like on your best day, right? I don't want to know what it's like when everything's working for you and you're happy. Tell me what it's like on your worst day. Are you full of rage? Are you full of shame? Are you nagging your husband and being a bitch? Like, what's going on for you in that moment? What's triggering it? And for a lot of people, it'll come down to their childhood. It's like, oh, I was always criticized, and they've just bottled up all this anger and da da da, whatever it is. We want to get that stuff out, because a lot of us as adults, we're replaying this old crap from years ago that we don't even know why we're doing it. But with homeopathy, we start to see those chains breaking off people slowly but surely. Some people, you know, one of the students told me the other day, she'd given her husband this remedy called syphilinum. And she was relaying the story to me because I had told the students, and I've told people before, what happened when my husband took the remedy syphilinum. Now, it's funny with syphilinum, if you look at it in the homeopathic textbooks, you'll read some things about it, and it'll say things like, it's prone in left-handed people. Oh. It's prone in,
I'm left-handed, that's why I said that.
It's so funny to me, the number of people who are in this space, and it's funny. It's not surprising at all. And they can tend to be like the black sheep, of the family. They think differently, and they can be prone to things like dyslexia. And a lot of the time, the school system doesn't suit them as much. They can be really creative people. It's a cool remedy. And what we call it, one of our miasmatic remedies, where things can come down family lines. Now, you might see things like autoimmune issues in the family history, like type 1 diabetes, or rheumatoid arthritis, or thyroid dysfunction, a lot of heart attacks, stuff like that. When I look at my husband, his family history, and the other aspect of it is they're really prone to that deep, dark depression or mental health issues, whether it's schizophrenia, bipolar, real self-destruction like suicide, but even things like alcoholism. And going up my husband's family tree, I'm like, it's pretty heavy. In Aboriginal culture, there's a lot of this heaviness, and a lot of it's born out of the amount of trauma that they experienced. So I really thought with Maddie, I'm like, oh, I reckon this remedy would really resonate with you. And I've never really used him as my guinea pig. I don't tend to do that with my own family unless they ask. And but he'd asked me, he'd gone to a chiro for a neck pain, and the chiro said, you should be having your wife make you arnica, to promote the healing. And so he asked me for it, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll make you the arnica, but can I give you this other one that I've been wanting to try, like at the same time, and you just tell me what happens. And for him, it was like tears, like instantly, like these emotions, and like from the depths, like of his spirit. He's like, where has this come from? Because he's not an overly emotional person. He'll shed a tear with me if we're watching a movie and it like stirs. Like I would always say he's in touch with his emotions, and he can talk and he can feel and express himself. But what came out from this was like from the depths, and it was like childhood thing, just memories come up. And he's like, I hate these damn homeopathics, because it was like, it's uncomfortable for him to feel that level of discomfort, depression, pain, all these things surfacing. But I had a student from our academy telling me what happened to her husband, and she said it's almost like it was like the moment it hit his tongue, this frequency that we give the homeopathics. I'm pretty sure she said 3 hours of the most deep, guttural sort of crying. And her hubby had a history of like deep, dark depression. And she said they were at this crossroads of like, what do we do here? Do we go the antidepressant route? We know that it would only be numbing, but at the same time, we can't deal with what we're feeling right now. It's too much, the energy is too heavy. And after that massive episode of all of the tears, and he was, I think, like fetal position style, trying to release all of this. And the thing is, for us, is we don't know if that is his ancestral baggage that's coming through. We don't know if that's his own stuff, lived experience from his own life. For so many of us, it's a culmination of both. Sometimes we're just acting some ways, and it's like, oh, but all the women in my family have acted this way. We've all been snappy or da 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 da. And it's like there's an energy that comes through. So yes, it's very powerful and very exciting. And I love my students, and I love witnessing, these sorts of things in people, but it's all just healing, and feeling. And sometimes there's no other way but through it. And we actually do have to dredge it up to be felt in order to really let it go, as uncomfortable as it may be. And I'll just give like a personal testimony of my own. So not just dropping my students in it, but one thing that I noticed when I would do my own homeopathic treatment is when I would take the well-indicated remedy, I would just feel this immediate desire to like binge eat. I'm like, I need chocolate, like chocolate specifically. I'm like, oh my gosh, I would get this feeling of complete overwhelm, that chocolate I would then eat, and it would completely like just calm me down, right? It would release probably all this dopamine, all of this biochemistry, the sugar, whatever it is. My body would get up like, okay, we're cool. And I didn't realize what a serious reliance I had on it until we're living at a farm, however many years ago. And if I wanted chocolate, I had to drive like 40 minutes to get it. because usually like around Brisbane, it probably wasn't that obvious that I had a problem because, oh, it's just easy. Oh yeah, I feel like chocolate. I'm just going to grab some chocolate. But when I couldn't, I really noticed like this, oh man, I feel like really pent up. Like, what is this energy? And the thing is that when I was taking that homeopathic remedy, it was obviously pushing on a pain point within me, completely unconscious to me, but it's triggering this internal grief from decades ago that I would not even be aware of. But as a child, a lot of us, this comfort eating that a lot of adults are stuck with,
Yep.
we do it as an absolute reflex to a pain, just to sidestep that, just quickly numb it out.
Yep.
Some people will choose different, drugs or smoking or whatever it is, porn, sex, it really doesn't matter to me. But that was like my coping. And so it's uncomfortable sometimes to take our homeopathic remedies because it pushes on that pain for quite some time. So sometimes you just got to go with it. All right, crap, it's causing this like flare up of emotions. I've just got to sit in this and be uncomfortable. And instead of going with my normal behavior, I'm just going to have to sit in this discomfort and feel it and like cry it out, do whatever I've got to do until it passes. So it usually doesn't tend to last too long with homeopathic treatment. But yeah, just highlighting that some people will have resistance to taking their homeopathic remedies because it literally pushes on the thing that hurts. Some of the wives, my friend that I was telling you I had brekkie with yesterday, and her husband, he took a remedy and it had an amazing response, right? It starts to bring some stuff up, but physically it brought out a rash in him like immediately. Now in homeopathy, that's a very good sign. If you take a remedy and you break out in a rash, your body's detoxing, your vital force has been kicked into gear, and it's a really, really good sign that things are shaking and shifting and about to move. So for him, he broke out in this massive rash and his wife's like, yes, awesome, keep going. But his fear of the mental and emotional stuff that was about to come out, he's like, nope, 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 nope. And he could not and would not continue. And, honoring the fact that some people, they don't want to open Pandora's box. And you can understand that, whatever they've been through, what was painful, what hurt, I don't want to feel it. But sometimes healing, that real elevation is on the other side of it if we're able, and willing to go through and be supported. And that's why a relationship with a homeopath that you trust and you can just be your true, authentic self. I think so many people, they go to psychologists or they might tell them half the problem, but it can be, it's Peter, who's one of our lecturers. He says this all the time. You are only as well as your secrets, whatever the shame, the guilt, the depths of the thing that you think is so unacceptable about yourself. If you can bear that to someone else and they can sit in your presence and just so lovingly accept everything that you have to say, everything that you've done, that you've experienced, and like be there with you, for some people, that is enough to catapult them out. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, a problem shared, they say, is like a problem halved. It's like, oh, this thing about me that I thought was so wrong actually isn't. I'm just a human being. I'm just going through life. I have coped and I have adapted in the best way that I could. And that's what it is to be human. And so when we sit there together with each other and you can have other people look at your most authentic self, it sets you free. So that's the goal.
You just spoke to my heart just then. I'm got a little bit of a tear in my eye at the moment. I think you've spoken to my spirit or something there, and that really touched me just then after my last few years, Mel. So yeah, I don't really have any words for your last little 5 minute spiel there, other than that you just I've cried a few times on this show, and that one, because I've had those moments in the last 3 years where I've had those conversations to be able to speak about my full. I'm lost for words. I knew I was going to cry today too.
I love it. And, it's like in your vulnerability of showing people what it looks like to like be a man and feel things, like it's so valuable because there's not many role models of people who can be that strong to brush things under the carpet and act like everything's fine when it's not. Which some men, they have come to believe that that is manly, don't feel it. And unfortunately, I see the result of that in my clinic all the time. It's like, it's exhausting for them. And I feel sorry for all of the men and women out there who have to perform in one way or another for their day-to-day life, and think that people want to accept that. And I think the message needs to be, and from a very young age, we'll see less issues if it's just, you are really whole and complete as you are, and it's completely acceptable in the eyes of others, every single thing about you. So love it.
Very powerful last 5 minutes. I might chop that up and make that a reel, I think. Mal, just on what you shared before too, a lot of people will be in this space and they'll say, oh no, I don't need that. I can do this on my own. They can be very negative towards any of these modalities. What would be your answer to those people that are probably sitting here listening to this going, well, I don't need any of this stuff. I can do this on my own. I can just do a meditation. I can go for a walk. I can have a conversation with someone, and they'll still do the avoidance thing and say, nah, don't need it. Because I'm sure you would have a few of those people as well.
So I think for me, it's like, I completely understand. Not only that, it can be expensive to go and see practitioners, these days. So
Yeah.
I relate to that. When I was in my postpartum period with each of my 3 boys, I did not want to go and see somebody, but like I felt, and I think the best thing is, okay, sweet, try and do it yourself first. Of course, that's the most empowering, and that's the best way. If you can, and if it actually resolves your issues, amazing. But if you do find that you really have tried, right? You've tried the meditation, you've tried to be grateful every day, yet you can feel something in your spirit is still not aligned. There's something stuck, deep down there. That's when, the homeopath, it becomes that really valuable tool to break through. And I've worked with people, like, say, for example, a lot of people have experienced sexual abuse earlier in their life. And we do one homeopathic consult and they tell me everything that they want to tell me. And I don't need the details of all of the trauma, but I'll just say, what's the essence of the feeling now? And it's like suppressed anger and rage that they haven't been able to get rid of for 20 years. They still find themselves thinking about that person. And a lot of these people have done like over 2 decades of talk therapy. They've been in a psychologist's office explaining and trying to get that feeling out, but the energy is still stuck. And then we do one homeopathic consult. I give them 1 bottle of medicine, and then they send me an email 6 weeks later, and this rage has lifted and the world looks brighter again. And I think sometimes we try to do it ourselves, and sometimes we just need that energetic budge, and it won't always be homeopathy for everyone. I think there's so many different aspects. When you watch the sunrise and all those frequencies are flooding your body and going in through your retina and triggering this cascade through your body, my honest belief is that, that frequency in and of itself, sometimes that connects the person back to the spirit, and that's what it takes for them. But I have seen with homeopathy, it do the things that people have tried to do for years that they still couldn't touch. And then I think when people are seeing a homeopath, it's have patience, even if it takes you a year or 2 to address all of the things that you were hoping for. It's going to depend on how long have you been sick. And it wasn't an easy journey for a lot of people to get this off track and this sick. Sometimes it's not, healing is not linear. It can look like this in layers, but you want to be climbing and elevating. And say, Nath, for you, and I can say for myself, the journey, no matter how much, you might have your little learning curves like this, the trajectory is the up and up. And that's what we want to be looking at, the momentum forward. We are progressing and we are healing. So yeah, that's what I would say to that. Just try it yourself. But yeah, homeopathy it's the most powerful modality that I have ever come across to address the whole human at the root. I've heard people say so many times, oh, I'm a root cause functional da. And it's like, if you're not going to the energy first, that's not the root. Energy precedes matter. Einstein said it, Tesla said it, everyone says it. Energy comes first. You must focus on the energy, because then the physical body forms after that. So your mental and emotional aspects, your traumas, that's more important to heal first. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know I can attest to what you just said there when you gave me some drops a couple of years ago, and yeah, that sort of started the whole. Okay, how deep and dark is this place? Because that's what it opened up for me. It was Pandora's box.
Yeah.
Because I thought the ego, and you sort of go, oh, we opened up Pandora's box, and then I had the drops from you. Oh shit, okay, this is a place now where you sort of start and you just don't stop, right? So yeah. Very
And
grateful
letting
for the
it,
drops you gave
and
me there a couple of years ago.
oh, I love that. I love that. But yeah, and I think sometimes, it comes in layers because you wouldn't want to heal everything all at once,
No,
it's a lifetime sort of like fun journey. And if we can sort of sit back and just like observe, like, wow, that's like still a thing for me. Damn, I can't believe I'm crying about this thing from years ago. And it almost becomes a bit more of a fun process than a like, oh man, I'm messed up. Oh, am I ever gonna like get through this? Yes, you are. And it's like it's fun. And to any of your listeners who are maybe in the depths, because we all have times where it's like, oh man, I feel like I'm in a rock bottom. I'm like just really not thriving right now. It's like, yeah, just sit back. It's all right. You are going to get there and you'll be led to it. And just remember, you have all of that wisdom within you. You don't need to rely on anything external, not even homeopathy necessarily. It's like go within yourself and ask, where is the pain? Where does it come from? And sit in that for a bit and just try to feel around.
the pain teacher, very, very powerful teacher.
The best one.
If someone is out there right now, Mel, that's looking for a homeopath, well, I am actually too, because a couple of my friends are still a couple of years away, and you're over here doing something cool. So, if there's anyone out there, how can people find a homeopath if they're listening to this right now?
So you can go to our web page. We do have some listed. So remedycollective.org.
Awesome.
You'll see practitioners on there. And so that is one way. Also, I would recommend people Google in your local area and see who comes up. Homeopaths are notoriously bad at marketing themselves, but some of the best, they're just sitting in private practice around the world doing amazing work, but they're not on Instagram, or they're not somewhere where you see them every day. But research them, go to their website, have a look, even give them a call, try and find somebody that you do resonate with, because that helps. The vibration of your practitioner matters. If you love them, it's going to be so much easier to relax into that healing journey. So don't, like all things, you can always sort of shop around a bit until you find your fit, and then you'll be set for a bit.
Is that something you teach in your program, the marketing of a homeopath, Mel?
I do. I
do. Thought so. Yeah.
Yes, because I want them to be thriving and successful. What's the point of having all this amazing knowledge if you're not fully booked out and like actually influencing the world? We aired a documentary. So there's a documentary coming out about homeopathy soon. It's called Introducing Homeopathy.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Have you watched it?
No, but I've seen your
about it.
thing
Yes.
about it. Yep.
Yeah, and so it is phenomenal. And, you see doctors there, they can see 50 patients a day healing all sorts of things. They're seeing 200,000 people a year. It's so phenomenal. So if that gets on Netflix, you can imagine the world that this opens up for homeopaths. It's going to be phenomenal.
Yes. And let's get this out there. Mal, I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions from the things you shared before. Now, a lot of young women have endo.
Yep.
And because I'm a bit younger too, I see some of these posts and they have tried literally everything. There might be some that are watching right now. How can homeopathy start that journey of potentially curing this thing? Because this is really big amongst the young women of today. It is fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
And let's touch on that.
So it is always going to be individualized for what remedy is best for them. But to give you an example, one of my cousins, she was a case example for us, and I was publicly case taking with Peter, and we were treating her. We were showing what this looks like. And so I saw her last week and she doesn't have any pain, from that anymore. Whereas before it was going to a point of absolutely crippling. So what you're trying to do with the homeopathy is rewire that energy around the hormones. So if it's a fertility case and they've got stage 4 and this endometrial tissue is everywhere in the peritoneal cavity, Sometimes it is better, if it's adhering to the bowel and things are fused together and it's really pathological, sometimes you are best to get surgery to remove it, but you must work on the energy so that it doesn't regrow. That's the thing with a lot of these, with cancer, with endo, with warts. You can freeze it off, you can chop them out, you can do whatever. If you don't address the energy, it will regrow. The organism is trying to express itself with those symptoms. So we also had another one of our academy. We take cases in our academy to show students what this looks like. So we had a woman in there and she had very heavy, painful periods. Now we took her whole case. We're looking at her mental and emotional state, her history, her everything. And we gave her a remedy called Aurum. Now that is made out of gold, like actual gold, like from a gold ring. You take that into a pharmacy and you are taking that vibration of gold. Everything has a unique vibrational footprint. That gold, when she started taking that under the tongue once a day, 8 weeks, we checked in with her, period, so much lighter, so much less pain. Her hormones have completely shifted. And that's using gold. So, sometimes we aren't just giving remedies like homeopathic estrogen. We must fit it to the person to trigger their self-healing. So to any of the women, it's like, yes, maybe the surgery at this point is appropriate, but get under the care of a good homeopath who can help you rewire that energy. It's very powerful stuff.
That is very powerful stuff. Mel, where can people find you if they're new to what you're doing in your space? Yeah.
So I mainly do stuff on Instagram, really. At that Homeopath is where I speak the most about all the things. Really just that. You can go to our website to check out sort of what we're doing. If there's anybody who wants to join our academy, we have another intake in 18 months.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Going to ask the next question about that. Yep.
Yeah. So that's in 18 months. And so we already have over 500. I think it's just ticked over 600 people.
So that's already open.
It's open. The wait list is open. So people have expressed their interest.
Yep.
So we are aiming big. We want full-scale revolution around the world.
Love it.
Bringing back these homeopathic hospitals, these healing centers where all these students can band together and just be an absolute force. So if anybody actually wants to learn in that 2-year course, it's open worldwide, it's online. The flexibility, it's like we've got mums enrolled, we've got some 18-year-olds who are like fresh out of school.
Oh, that's unreal.
I know. Love it's so that. Beautiful. Yeah. And we've got, grandparents even who just are trying to learn how to heal because they want to look after their grandchildren.
That's so good.
It's so beautiful.
So where can people find I'll put a link to that in the show notes to where they can go straight to the wait list. Yeah. That's awesome.
And also, I mean, even my husband joined the course, and people with no health background, and he can just absorb it. And it's so funny. He started doing it. He's mainly looking to do it just to support our 3 boys and their health. And so he was watching it. He was loving it so much that he was just banging on to his mum about it constantly and talking about all this stuff, ancestral stuff. And she's like, oh, this is so good. Can you ask Mel if I can join too? So she joined 4 weeks late and caught up like overnight. And so then these two are talking about it so much. My husband's sister's like, oh, for F's sake, look, can I please like enroll too? So now there's coming from all different walks of life. One's a stay-at-home mum, one's a grandmother, one's a father, and they are loving it. Like we teach it in a way that people can easily understand because some people, they can lecture and it can be all this knowledge, but it's so far off this way. People can't integrate it and really understand. And I think that's my talent is I speak simply because I understand simply so I can convey it to these students, take the amazingness of these other lecturers and make it palatable. So anyway, I love it. And the conversations, you can imagine, we get together all the time and we're playing cards, with my family. We're actually going on our Christmas holidays now. I'm about to leave. And the conversations when, people on track with healing and, hey, this person's like addicted to this, like, oh, what sort of things do we want to look at? It's like the most amazing like environment to be in when you've got friends on board. So yeah, I love it.
No, that's awesome. Mel, I thank you so much for jumping on today. We've been trying to make it happen for a couple of months. You've been
We got
really,
there.
yeah, we got there. Really awesome chat. You brought me to tears. You made me happy, made me laugh. So I've shared all the emotions on this platform today. Mel, if there's a final word from you, a piece of advice for someone out there listening that could be on any stage of their journey, what would be your advice for that person? I remember your advice in the last chat was really good. So let's see what comes out today.
Oh my gosh, I can't even remember what I would have said last time.
It
But
was,
for me at the
yeah,
moment, it's all within you. You don't have to externalize it. Just go within yourself. You do have the secrets to healing within. So don't put your power anywhere else. You are a powerful creator.
love it. Mel, let's not wait 2.5 years for part two.
No.
People are still watching and commenting on the first chat 2.5 years ago.
Oh my
That
gosh,
got
love
over
it.
10,000 views and comments everywhere. And yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh,
My second most
outrageous.
viewed video
Oh
on
my
my
gosh.
socials. Yeah, it was that
Was
one.
was Dale your number one, or was it a lonesome one that you did?
No, it
What was your
wasn't
number one?
Dale. My number one was the Darius Wright out of body spiritual experience I shared with him on my platform. That's got like 50,000 views.
Who's that?
You might want to this is we're still live. You might want to you might want to get in touch with Darius Wright. He does some cool stuff in the spiritual out of body experience state. Yeah.
Oh, it sounds very cool. Don't know him, but yes, I will definitely look into it.
Yeah. So Mel, thank you so much for jumping on.
Thank you.
We might do an in-person one from your new block of land, I reckon,
Sounds
the
good.
next time, part three. Catch up in
Sounds good.
person.
Love
Thank
it.
you, everyone,
Thank
for
you.
listening and watching. Thank you, Mel, for your time today. If you want to get in touch with anything RMDY, all the information will be in the show notes. I'll try and find it, and then hopefully Mel can send me through some stuff. Anyone interested in any of the things that Mel's spoken about today. So, Mel, thank you once again. See you guys real soon. There's some awesome guests in the can at the moment. So, peace out.